the subconscious mind controls 95% of your life. So this is where we hold our trauma, our beliefs, our past experiences, our memories. So some of these memories and beliefs that we've picked up from childhood, we picked up from past lives, our parents, ancestors, they can be affecting the way we show up in the world.
On Connecting the Dots, we aim to redefine what the term healthy means by learning from experts, identifying different areas of our life that impact our well-being, and becoming our greatest health advocates.
We believe that by making small lifestyle changes, people can not only manage, but also prevent a wide range of chronic illnesses we are taught to believe are normal in our society today.
My name's Kathleen Carney. I'm a nutritionist, foodie, author, and creator and co-host of this raw, real, and sometimes ridiculous show.
And I'm Melissa Chamis, the other half of Connecting the Dots. I'm also a certified yoga instructor, Reiki 1 practitioner, and a hustler just trying to survive in corporate America.
We are close friends who bonded over our messy healing journeys and are eager to share our experiences with you.
So come join this journey with us as we all learn to connect the dots between the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of being human.
We now know that 80% of the reason why people go to the doctor's office is because of stress. It's a stress-induced illness.
So if we want to be working on healing the body, the gut and the brain have to be worked on together.
People get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Never accept that, oh, I'm just always going to be this way, because there's always something you can do about it.
So make one lifestyle choice after another and do it with support.
The future of health looks like prevention.
It's going to be more common for everybody to have their own customized health plan.
Well, our health is no different than the health of the planet.
It's never too late to feel great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Connecting the Dots. This episode is the first episode where we travel into that potentially woo-woo aspect of this season that we told you about in episode 1. And I'm really excited to share all about it and my personal experience with our guest, Emily. I met her I guess in 2021, when I joined a podcasting app called matchmaker.fm and asked to be a guest on her podcast. It has a new name now, which is really exciting. She's done a total rebrand of her business, but when I was on it, it was called Awaken the Wisdom. And we had such a good conversation about so many different things, but it ranged from nutrition to the moon cycle to eating for your cycle and your period. It was really cool. I highly suggest that you check out that episode. But after we made that connection, I started to attend her manifesting meditations every week. She was offering them for free when I met her, which was amazing. And I was really looking to get into meditation. Meditation was one of those things that I didn't really understand. I would, close my eyes, put on some, relaxing music and would be like, what am I supposed to do? Like my brain is thinking about all the other things that I should be doing right now instead of relaxing. And so taking her class every week really helped me understand what meditation was. And her guided meditations were really cool because they were also manifesting meditations. So you had a purpose for your meditation, and she would lead you through a visualization exercise that went into a manifesting exercise that then went into really digging into that subconscious and focusing on, the word is reprogramming, but that might sound crazy to people who aren't aware, but reprogramming beliefs that are holding you back from achieving and manifesting what you want. And so I thought that this was so cool. And so I did that for, I want to say like maybe a year. And then she opened up a manifesting course that we'll talk a little bit more about in the episode called the Conscious Creators Program. And so I joined that, and that met 3 times a month. It included that manifesting meditation piece, but also like really digging deep into those beliefs in your subconscious that hold you back. And so I feel like by working with Emily, I've really grown over the last year and a half. And so I really wanted to have her on the show because she's really cool, and she just has a way of kind of making you rethink your life experiences and what you can do and the life that you can create for yourself. And so I'm very excited for you to hear from her in this episode.
Yeah, so Emily Miotto is a theta healer, so which you'll hear more about in this episode, but basically it's an energy healing practice that helps you work through and process things hidden in your subconscious mind. And it's using that theta brainwave state. So Emily explains that theta healing can help with things like Kath was saying, like childhood trauma, past life trauma, getting over fears, and even manifesting the life that you want. And like, yes, this might sound a little woo-woo or super spiritual, and it somewhat did to me at first because I had never heard of theta healing before speaking to Emily. But the way Emily explains it and incorporates the science behind how it really works made me a true believer in this type of practice. And I do mention in the show intro that I am a Reiki 1 practitioner, and it's almost a similar form of energy healing, but it utilizes a different brainwave state. So Kath actually just went through Emily's theta healing course this month. So Kath, do you want to share a little bit more about what that experience was like?
Yeah. So if you're watching YouTube, I have my theta healing book out. And so at Emily, you'll hear her talking about theta healing and becoming a practitioner on this episode of the show. And at the end of the show, she was like, I seriously think you both need to become a theta healer. Like, I have these programs like every month or every other month, she leads them to train people to become theta healer practitioners. And she was like, you need to do it. And so I did. I took her, it's called Basic DNA, I think is the title. But it's the first course in becoming a theta healer. And to actually practice with other clients, you have to take the advanced DNA course. So you have to take 2 courses with her to become a practitioner. So I've done one of the 2 as of now. But one of the reasons that I was like really convinced to do it was all of the benefits of theta healing. And I thought that they would be really great to incorporate into my practice as a nutritionist, just to have another tool in my toolkit to help with clients. So I have here the benefits of theta healing and specifically utilizing that theta brainwave state. So it alleviates stress and promotes long-lasting and substantial reduction in anxiety. It facilitates deep physical relaxation and mental clarity. It increases verbal ability and verbal performance IQ. It synchronizes both hemispheres of the brain. It invokes vivid, spontaneous mental imagery and imaginative creative thinking. And it can also reduce pain, promote euphoria, and stimulate endorphin release. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's try it. And I really didn't know what to expect. I had a very, very basic understanding of what theta healing was from working with Emily in that manifesting and that meditation piece over the last year and a half, as well as learning a little bit more in this episode. But you just like never really understand until you're fully immersed in it. So I was nervous, and it was a 3-day course. It was Friday afternoon and evening, all day Saturday and all day Sunday of a weekend. So pretty intensive. And within the first hour on Friday, we learned a little bit about theta healing. We learned one of the main techniques used in theta healing. And then she goes, okay, time to practice. We're like, excuse me? And she puts us in breakout rooms with other people who are trying to become a certified theta healer. And it's like, okay, it's go time. Take what you just learned and practice. And I'm just like, what? I am not equipped to do this. And luckily, the woman that I was paired up with has experience in hypnotherapy. So not this technique, but she was more aware and more comfortable. And so she literally just looks at me and goes, stop judging yourself, stop comparing yourself from others, and just trust yourself and do it. And I was like, yep, okay, got it, gonna do that. And so the first thing we did was we learned this technique called a body scan. And so what you're supposed to do is you go up into this theta brainwave state and you connect with whatever higher power you believe in. Like I said, it gets a little woo-woo. And you then, ask permission to the person that you're working on to enter their space. They're also in the theta brainwave state as well. And you do a body scan on them. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say to this woman, but okay. So I'm doing it. I'm following the process and things just start coming out of my mouth. Like, I'm like, oh, you have a really big heart and you're really giving, and you especially are really generous with your time, and just going through her body. And like, these words are coming out of me. And I'm like, how do I know all this stuff? Am I just making this up? Like, what's happening right now? And the craziest part that really made me be like, like that heart thing's pretty general. You could say that about anybody. But what came out of my mouth when I got to her kidneys was like, your kidneys work really hard. Sometimes your kidneys work too hard. And like, I think that this is something that you need to explore more. So I keep going. I'm saying whatever else is coming to my mind, going through her whole body, like visualizing each organ and saying whatever comes to mind about them. So at the end, she's like, oh my gosh, like you have such a gift. And I'm like, I do. And she's literally like, I suffer from extreme adrenal fatigue. My kidneys do work really hard. And it's something that's like on my doctor's radar. And like, when you said that, I couldn't believe it. And I was like, same, I can't believe it. Like, it was wild. So that was just like one example of when I was like, okay, like there's something to this. And I'll give one more quick example. So the last day we were learning how to connect with your guardian angels. Like I said, woo-woo. And again, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this, but we're taught the technique and I'm practicing on a other practitioner. And I'm like, okay, like, let's try. So I'm like, you're supposed to look over my right shoulder, their left shoulder. And like, you're supposed to just get messages or see things about these guardian angels. And so I'm like so nervous about this because like, it's a big deal. I feel like if people really are wanting to know who their guardian angels are, I want to tell them the right thing. And so I'm trying really hard and I'm not getting a lot of information. And then all of a sudden, I'm just like, oh, like one of your guardian angels is a woman and her name starts with B and she wants you to know that she's here for you. And like, I'm just getting these like messages. So I finished the like guardian angel reading and I'm like, how was it? And she was like, oh my gosh, like my grandmother's name starts with a B. And like, I've always felt like she's like here with me. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that I felt that, got that, saw that, like whatever. So I share these experiences with you because I know sometimes it can be like so hard to wrap your head around like these more spiritual or out of the box or, as we say, woo-woo modalities of healing. But there's something to it because I literally was doing exactly what I'm told, following the instructions, and like I'm feeling connected and I'm learning these things about people that how would I ever have known otherwise? And the whole experience just really, reaffirmed my belief in a higher power and also like really, really helped me build trust in my own intuition and confidence in myself of like, not always in these types of situations where you're like looking for someone's guardian angel or doing a body scan on someone, but like literally just in everyday life, like trusting my gut feeling. And when I have these things that like I feel like I should do or I should say, like to trust that and to not second guess myself so much. So it was a really amazing experience. I do plan on doing the second version or like the second level of the Theta Healing course to become a practicing Theta healer, to try and grow my skills and learn more about how I can integrate that in helping people be well.
Yeah, I think that's so fascinating. And just for listeners who hear the words like these things are coming to me, like most of the time they're coming in the form of thoughts. I know there's some people who can like see things, hear things, but it's usually just thoughts. It's like think about when you think of someone and then you just randomly get a text from them. It's like that, but on a different level. And I find it interesting that she had you practice right away. And I felt like when I started teaching yoga, it's like you learn all of this information, but then the moment you go start to practice, it's like, oh crap, I don't know anything anymore. But then the practicing is really what helps you strengthen that. So, I mean, hopefully in the future, I'd love to add theta healing to my list of things. But yeah, we want to keep this intro kind of short so you guys can get into the episode. I just wanted to let you know that we did have some technical issues when we were recording this episode. So there is no video. We have this on YouTube. There's just going to be a graphic on that. And then the audio is just a little, not as perfect as the other ones, but it's still great. And you'll still love the episode. And Emily is just an amazing guest. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her. So enjoy.
Well, welcome to Connecting the Dots, Emily. We are so excited to have you and to dive into the incredible work that you do and how we connected over a year ago, I guess, which is so crazy. But before we get into all the goodness, would love to start off with our icebreaker, which is what is something that you're currently reading, watching, or listening to?
So normally my day-to-day listening and watching is always something spiritual. I have switched over to Gilmore Girls. It's the fall season and I'm like, you know what? Let's bring it back in. So that's what I'm currently watching.
Obsessed with that.
Yeah, never can go wrong with Gilmore Girls.
No.
I made my boyfriend Luke watch it for the first time and like that was like our show together and he was like, you know what? Not actually bad. I was like,
right?
All right. So can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your health journey, and how that brought you to where you are today?
Yeah. So my name is Emily, and I have been on my health journey for about 5 years now. It started when I one day woke up and I had a ton of digestive issues and I was just starting off university, super excited but super nervous, and then I get whacked with this and all of a sudden my life goes to, if I can swear in here, the shits. So I started going to doctors and they kept telling me that you just have IBS and you're going to have to stick with the symptoms and here, take this, and they ended up actually prescribing me laxatives for a year, which did not help. And I was kind of fed up. I was crying every day. I didn't want to go to school. And so I started to look for alternatives. And I went to a naturopath and pretty much any energy healing modality under the sun, I tried. And I came across the practice of theta healing. And it really intrigued me to figure out that it may not be just my body that's in dis-ease, but it could be the beliefs and the trauma that is held within me that's actually manifesting my dis-ease. And that got me into, okay, I'm obsessed with this practice. It started to work immediately after the first session, and now I am free from all of the health complications that I once had, IBS, chronic constipation, PCOS, amongst other things that doctors told me I'd have to just live with.
Wow.
And here I am today.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. So for our listeners who have no idea, I stumbled upon Emily actually through the podcasting app. And we just had like an immediate connection. She interviewed me, and then I was like, wait, like I wanna do stuff with you. So started going to her weekly manifesting meditations at the time, and then had my own sessions with her. And now I'm a part of her Conscious Creators group, which is really cool. Shameless plug for that. So we've kind of been professionally and personally connected for a bit, and I had been wondering how you came across Theta Healing, because before I saw you on the Matchmaker podcasting thing, I'd never even heard of Theta Healing. And to be honest, like, this is how I am with everything. I go with my gut and I just say, yep, this sounds great, I'm going to try it. But like, I still don't really know what it is and how you do what you do. So would love for our listeners if you could just kind of give us a rundown on what Theta Healing is.
Yeah, so I will try to describe it in the simplest terms because I can get very more scientific and sometimes it just goes right over people's heads. So the Theta Healing technique is harnessing the brainwave state of theta, which we naturally dip into every single day to access the subconscious mind. Now, if anyone's heard recently, the subconscious mind has become almost like a trending term now, but it controls 95% of your life. So this is where we hold our trauma, our beliefs, our past experiences, our memories. So some of these memories and beliefs that we've picked up from childhood, we picked up from past lives, our parents, ancestors, they can be affecting the way we show up in the world. And so through this technique, we're able to identify those exact beliefs that are no longer serving you and then reprogram them. Hopefully that made sense.
That was a very good, succinct explanation. And that was actually going to my next question because I've heard of different brain waves. And I was curious if the theta healing was connected to like the theta brainwave. So I'm assuming you said it was the theta brainwave is technically connected to the subconscious.
When we are growing up, our brain waves are primarily in this theta brainwave state between the ages of 0 and 7. So that's where we pick up everything. Our parents tell us we have to be a good girl or a good boy and we'll get a reward. Or if we are bad, we're punished. They tell us that money doesn't grow on trees and we have to be nice to our uncle even though he gives us some weird vibes. And so we ignore ourselves, right? Like we've all kind of experienced something like that. And so what happens is that we are just energetic sponges as kids. And we store all of that away of this is how I'm going to be accepted in society. This is how I'm going to be a part of a community, which is what we all want. And anything that goes against our basic survival, our survival of being loved, being taken care of, and having our basic needs met, we will shape and change how we perceive the world to fit that mold that we were growing up in. So we primarily go into this state, and we actually go into it when we are going to sleep and when we're waking up as well, which is why whatever you do first thing in the morning and right before you go to bed can actually begin to reprogram your mind. So if you're watching the news or watching war movies, you're going to be living in a world and be programmed with the belief that the world is scary, it's unsafe. Right? First thing, if you wake up in the morning and you look at social media, you're in that comparison mindset. I'm not good enough. Right? So this is the brainwave state that we harness, and you can do so through meditation.
Wow. I'm like, maybe this is why I've been watching Vampire Diaries lately, and last night I had some interesting dreams, and I'm like, this is probably why. But one thing that I think is so interesting about what you just said of like the 0 to 7 theta, like you're more often in this theta brainwave state, is that, you know, I know that in your practice you also go back to the chakras, and I know that age is connected to 1 or 2 of the chakras. And so that I'm like, okay, I'm seeing that. And then also in your practice, you also use muscle testing, which you can talk about and explain in a second. But you are actually the second practitioner that I've seen that has utilized muscle testing. And I just think it's so crazy how when you're doing muscle testing, you go back to certain ages where things get stuck, or as you said, the beliefs get stuck, or these memories. And so it's just so fascinating to me that this theta state and at this primal age in our life, it's all connected no matter which angle you're looking at it from. So I just wanted to make that connection, but also wanted to ask you how you utilize muscle testing in your work.
Yeah, so we use muscle testing, and when I say we, I just mean every and all theta healers out there. We use muscle testing to identify what those deep core beliefs are, because the body actually becomes the subconscious mind. And so whatever we are experiencing in the physical body, whether it is physical dis-ease or harmony, that's an expression of the subconscious mind. So through muscle testing, I do a practice called the sway test. So pretty much you just stand up, face north, and you say yes, see if you're calibrated, in which case you'll sway forward, or no, which case you'll sway back. Then I'll have you say a belief out loud. So similar to an affirmation, right? I am wealthy. And if your body is not holding on to that, if your subconscious mind doesn't believe that, you'll sway backwards. So then that indicates to me, okay, this is why this person isn't able to attract wealth in their life, or more abundance, or more money. And so we simply just pull out that belief because it's not serving you, right? And we can do so in this theta brainwave state. And what's really powerful about the muscle testing practice is that it also allows the client to see that something solid has actually happened for them. Because we retest them once we've done the reprogramming, and when they sway forward, now it kind of instills into their mind that, okay, I actually believe this now.
That's so fascinating, because I've actually started doing muscle testing this year too, and I've done it a lot more for like foods and heavy metals and like all those different things, and cutting it out and seeing that progress, I feel like has been so helpful for me, because you never get to see progress from a lot of different health things. It's like, take this medicine, okay, you feel better, but you don't really like notice much else. It's usually a Band-Aid rather than fixing the root cause. But I haven't actually gotten into the emotional piece yet, so I think that's pretty awesome. Could you talk about what some of the benefits to theta healing are, and like some other things that like maybe it can help you heal from?
Yeah. So theta healing pretty much works with, I want to say everything, because everything does come down to beliefs and energy, right? Our beliefs are the thought forms that we have, and the energy is the emotions. So in theta healing, we both do the reprogramming of beliefs as well as downloading for you what certain feelings or emotions feel like. And so it can help with anxiety and depression. It can help with any and all physical dis-ease, even some chronic diseases that people just haven't been able to find that solution from. I've had some clients that weren't able to conceive, and now they could hold a child, right? And it all comes down to what are those beliefs that are blocking us. It also works with what, again, is another trending term, but manifesting. Right? Pretty much what we want to create in our life can be done so by removing that junk information that was serving us when we were kids to protect ourselves, but now as adults is keeping us in a place of poverty or scarcity or lack or feeling alone. So it helps with a wide range. It could do with sexual trauma. It can deal with past life work. It can deal with helping and building relationships, attracting more love into your life. Honestly, the list is pretty much endless. Anything that has a belief attached to it, which is everything, can be healed.
Yeah, I was going to say probably helpful. Before we got started, I was just thinking about like what instances I wanted to touch on that you and your work have totally helped me with. And so I had originally, after we connected and realized, okay, this is cool, like I'm into this, was trying to heal my gut, but also I'm very self-aware, but like almost to the point where it's like I know like what's wrong, but I don't know how to like go from there. Like, I could tell you exactly the emotion I'm feeling, when I felt it, what happened, but then it's like, what do I do with that? And I felt like working with you was the answer, and it definitely has been. And our first session together, I will never forget, you were like, you know, straight up like, okay, let's go. Okay, tell me this. All right, this is your first limiting belief. And I'm like, yes, I know this one. And you're like, wow. I remember you saying like, wow, you got there very fast. And I was like, yep, I know it. What do I do with it? And so we started, you know, working through it. And as we were working through it, I remember you just being like, I'm seeing, you know, I'm getting a message. And you're like, someone, you know, wants to tell you that they're here with you until you clear these beliefs. Because one of my beliefs was like, I'm afraid of being alone. And if I'm alone, that means like no one likes me and no one cares about me. And you're like, well, I have a message from you from, you know, a spirit that's saying like, I'm with you through this, and like, you're never alone, and you're never going to be alone as long as you're like working through these problems and, you know, all this stuff. And that was such like a catalyst for me, or connected on that or talked about that, but that was so big for me.
And I love to hear that. And I remember when I first started off my practice, I would get these messages from spirit guides, ancestors, even creator, which is just energy of creation or light and love. And I wouldn't tell the client because I'm like, they're probably going to think I'm absolutely batshit crazy. They came here just to reprogram beliefs. And I'm like, hey, your long lost like grandmothers, come forward. And then I started to trust it, and it would always resonate with the client. And I've had some amazing things come forward, and I've had some amazing spirit guides and Council of 12 and all the fun like woohoo stuff about spirituality come forward that really also is very reassuring for the client when they're going through more of this matrix 3D kind of struggles.
Yeah. And that's how I felt for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just got chills when you were talking about that, Kath. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I'm curious though, like I don't know if it's tough for people to recognize their own limiting beliefs. Like, I know if you're very self-aware, you can kind of start to understand like what is holding you back. But maybe for listeners, do you have any suggestions on how people can start to recognize what those limiting beliefs are and begin to work towards overcoming them?
Yeah, everyone become a theta healer. But it does really, really help doing this practice. I know that this has been the greatest help for me in discovering my limiting beliefs is knowing what's called the digging process. So the best thing I could tell everybody listening is start asking yourself, what's the worst thing that would happen if you, and then fill in the blanks of what that desire is that you want. This is similar to how we find the bottom belief in theta healing, and it's super powerful when you ask yourself this question over and over and over again. Also becoming aware of the moments when you feel out of alignment, and anything out of alignment would be anything that doesn't feel good. So anger, hatred, sadness, fear, that's telling you that something's coming out, that your soul's saying, this is not serving me. This is blocking me. This is holding me back. This is keeping me stuck. And then ask yourself, okay, well, what's the worst thing that would happen if I had a stable relationship? If I had $1 million? And you will find that limiting belief so quickly. Or become a theta healer. That works too. You have your options.
It's so funny that you say that, because I had mentioned earlier that I'm in your Conscious Creators group. And so it's not just us working one-on-one together, but every time we meet, it's a squad. And it's funny how you're always like, you know, if nothing comes up, like, that's okay. But like, if there is something coming up, like, that's your answer. And so it's always funny when you ask questions like that, like, oh yeah, what's the worst that could happen if you have $1 million? Like, on your, like, you know, logical mind, you're like, nothing. Like, there's nothing bad that could happen there. But then when you actually sit down and think about it, that's when those things come up. And I think when I was telling that story, I think it was like all of those beliefs of like me being successful all stem from like, if I'm successful, I won't be liked. If I'm not liked, I'll be alone. And that was kind of how we roundabout way got there. And so that, it's just funny, like, seeing other people get to them in our group sessions and that, I'm always just like, yep, that is a good question to ask yourself, even if it seems so silly to be like, yeah, what happens if I find the love of my life? What do you mean? But really, if you sit with yourself, something might come up. And you kind of already made this connection earlier, but something that I wanted to, dive a little bit deeper into is, when I first met you, I started like dipping my toes into your work by joining your manifesting meditation sessions. So how does manifestation and meditation go hand in hand and also fall under the umbrella of theta healing?
Okay, this is going to be another one of those times where I really try to make it as simple as possible. So whenever we have our eyes open, we are in the beta brainwave state. We are in fight or flight. We are using our senses to figure out what's wrong, what is a threat to us, to protect us. As soon as we close our eyes, we are now accessing ultimate and unlimited consciousness. We are coming to a place of love, to our inner being. That is where we create, right? As soon as we open our eyes and we see we don't have the amount of money we want, we don't have the relationship, we're not as successful, all of a sudden we're reinforcing those limiting beliefs. So through the meditation, and especially the quantum meditation, as you've experienced, we leave the physical body. And by leaving the physical body, you're also leaving behind all of those beliefs, all of the ideas and the things that you see that are keeping you in your limited reality. We transcend time and space, which is one of the third plane laws that we live by that creates that struggle that most of us go through. If I want to buy a car or a house, I have to work hard, I have to save up money, and then I'll buy it. Right? Whereas if we can align ourselves with the energetics of it, and for us, again, the energy is our emotions, then all we have to do is align that with a thought form. So think about when you were a kid and you were daydreaming, right? And you were daydreaming about having, I'm just going to use a prince, okay? And a prince came to rescue you and on a white horse, and you could actually feel it, right? And when we were kids, we played make-believe, or we played house. And we actually fully lived in that world. It's similar to that, but an adult version. So by letting go of the limited self, we access the unlimited self that can do the impossible. That is simply able to match a thought form, which is what we want to manifest in the intentions, with an emotion. And from there, the mind believes that it's real. If you do it enough times, your body is going to send out that frequency that this is my new reality. So even if you open your eyes and you see around you that it's not quite there yet, you know that the reality you're creating in your mind is more real than your current one. And so by law, it has to happen. And it does so in a way that is effortless. There's no time, there's no space that you have to go through. Hope that made sense.
Yeah, no, I honestly think that that's one of the best explanations I've heard of manifestation. And I think it really breaks it down for people who think a lot of this stuff is just woo-woo. Like, I immediately thought of, people say, like, fake it till you make it. There's a TED Talk that said, like, fake it till you become it. And that's what was really making me think of, like, yeah, manifestation is like that. The more you think and you believe it, like, you are giving off those frequencies and you are actioning that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually used to teach yoga, so I'm very familiar with meditation, but I'm curious how quantum meditations or quantum manifestation sessions differ from regular meditations.
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned before, so if anyone's ever read Joe Dispenza's books, if you haven't, I highly suggest it because it really breaks down the scientific energy behind these meditations. And it really helps those who don't really believe in manifestation to know that this is possible. And it pretty much just, you're not sitting there thinking about, okay, this is what happened in my day, this person was shitty to me, or I can't get this. What you do is you go in with an intention. So I always tell everybody beforehand, this is not a relaxing meditation, right? There's two different types of meditations. There's one that, yeah, you want to calm your mind, you want to feel restful, and the other one's like, I'm going in to make something. I'm going in to create something, and that's what this meditation does. And so when you go in with the intention to create, you're actually using a lot of your brain power to visualize, to embody that new life. And so again, what happens is that because your body is just responding to whatever your mind is telling it. So all those beliefs. So when you're in this state where your body no longer has control over you, now your body's getting new messages. Oh, this feels really good, and that's connected to money. This feels really good, and that's connected to love. Okay, well, I actually want to feel good, right? The body wants to feel good. And you guys, as you work in health, you know the body wants to heal itself, right? So all it's doing is saying, okay, if these feel good, and that is stronger than the dis-ease that I'm feeling, let's create that, right? And that's something to also remember, that we are creating whatever we have a stronger emotional attachment to. So if we have a stronger emotional attachment to our dis-ease, our pain, our suffering, that's what we continue to create every day. So through these quantum meditations, we are creating a stronger emotional attachment to our new life, which feels so much better. And you do so in a place that you don't have to work hard. It might be a little bit challenging when you first start off doing this, but you don't have to work hard. You just have to believe, you have to feel good. And how easy is that? Right? You're sitting down, meditating, and you are manifesting at the same time.
Yeah, and I found so in the Conscious Creators group, you've been doing monthly themes, and recently one of the themes that we were working through was finances and money. And I was, at the time that we were doing it, I was just graduating from school, and I work part-time, and then we do the podcast, and I do a couple other side things, but like money has definitely been on the mind. But it's just been like, okay, I'm in school though, so it's hard to like fathom getting more money at this moment. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. We're going to go through it, the whole thing. Like, I'd like more money. I just don't know how this is possible right now. I'm not seeking a promotion. I'm not seeking a new job, like whatever. But it was wild because I started winning all of these giveaways on Instagram. I literally won 4 of them. And we got like thousands of dollars worth of things mailed to our house. And I was like, okay, we believe that we were getting richer. And even though I didn't go in with that intention of like, I'm going to get a promotion or I'm going to get this new job. Like, that was not it. I was just like, I could use some more money. Like, let's rock it. And it happened. And I was like, whoa. I'm a believer. I'm here.
And I love that. I think that's such an important part for everyone to know too. When you're manifesting, don't worry about the how, right? That's a third plane problem. The 5th plane, the 7th plane, which is connected to creator, it doesn't matter, right? The quantum field does not care about how. You just have to say, I would like this, make your cosmic order, and then just wait.
Yeah.
Right? But we always get caught up in how's going to happen. I need to plan it. And that comes back down to the scarcity, the fear, the third plane problems. And I say third plane, if you guys don't know, the third plane is where we live. And there's 7 planes of existence according to theta healing. So just to make that clear.
I did not know that there were 7 planes. I mean, the third plane I assumed was here. Can you go through what those 7 planes are? That's so interesting.
Yeah, so the 7 planes, as everything is connected, is also connected to the 7 chakras, right? So the first plane is where all the crystals are. So anyone who deals with crystals, that is the first plane of existence, is the non-organic material. The second plane is plants. So everyone who works with herbs, that's working with the second plane. We here with animals is the third plane, so we are where doctors work. I'm just kind of naming the different healers. The 4th plane is the spirit realm, or where there's wayward spirits. So anyone that's ever been kind of haunted, quote unquote haunted, or talking to spirit guides, that's the 4th plane. The 5th plane is the angels, ascended masters, council of 12, guardian angels, which is so beautiful to connect with and channel. And then the 6th plane is universal laws. So anyone who deals with the Akashic records, sacred geometry, numerology, sound healing, deal with the 6th plane. And then the 7th plane is the creator of all that is, or energy of creation, light and love, where we do theta healing from.
I love that this is what I was saying at the beginning of like, I just show up to these things and you're like, okay, we're in the fourth plane. And I'm like, yeah, we're in the fourth plane. Like, I just never even ask these questions. I just like bop along, sounds good. So I'm so glad that we cleared this up. So glad. But I know that we touched on this a little bit, but I think that it is important for our listeners to grasp, because I know a lot of times we listen to these podcasts and people are hearing, whoa, like my mind is already blown, especially if you're not in the yoga, meditation, energy healing space. Like, I'm sure everything that we're saying is, even though Emily is doing a phenomenal job breaking it down, I'm sure it's still just like, okay, what? But I think something that our listeners can like truly grasp and understand, and could definitely either be like a buy-in to theta healing, or just like maybe this could be something I need now or in the future. Like, how do our limiting beliefs like impact how we show up in our day-to-day life? I know that we kind of talked about how to find them and like the questions to ask, but like, how could they be like disrupting or blocking you from getting what you want, or manifesting what you want, or achieving your goals?
That's a great question. Let me just channel how to answer this, because okay, one of the practices that I do with my coaching clients, which I feel will be very helpful, is if you put yourself in the middle of your paper, and then around your paper, you put all the major areas of your life. You have finances, you have relationships, you have what are other health, and you have, for example, self. And you write down what's currently going on in your life. So this would be called, I can't remember what I called it now, but it's just your blueprint of your life, right? Take a look at what is not going so great in your life, and there is a belief behind that that is blocking you from having that. And we are living in a period of our life where we are overloaded with information, and this information is taking us further and further away from ourselves, or what we know to be true, to be right, to be in alignment with what we want. If you take a snapshot of your life right now, though, you will find that all that information is being presented through your life, right? So, you figure out how else to say this. So all of these things that are happening in your life, that's the last step of the manifestation process. So you have to figure out, what was that first step? That first step was an experience that created a feeling, most likely a negative feeling, or could have been even a positive feeling, but strong enough with a thought form that when it continued to happen again, it now created a pattern. And that pattern created a behavior, which created a personality, which created your identity, which now creates your life. So when you can trace yourself back to, okay, what was that first experience where my parents said, you're a bad girl and you're going to be punished? Okay, well, that was the feelings of shame, the feelings of guilt, the feelings of being unworthy, along with not pleasing others. So now, how do I form my life so that way I can feel good and loved by those who are supposed to unconditionally love me? I'm going to people please, right? And so that's just a simple example of how we get caught up in this behavior, and now we have a fear, well, if I don't people please, all this is going to happen. Right? I'm going to be alone. I'm going to be unworthy. I'm going to lose that. And we don't ever want to feel that. So that's how one of the examples of how it's created in our life. But just take a snapshot of your life and you'll see all the areas in which your beliefs have created what you have or what you don't have.
Well, I think that's a very good way to make the connection, and to each area of your life too. I think it, like you said, manifests in different ways. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about, because I know how you said you had stomach issues and then you were able to heal from them through theta healing. Like, how do things like this manifest as real physical ailments for people?
Yeah. So I'll tell you about how mine manifested, but everyone's is really different, and this is kind of where the chakras come in. So I had experienced some sexual trauma as a child, and I had experienced it at the age of 8. and I'll tell you this is important. So at the age of 8. And so when we did our theta healing, we came back to that age and here's where the chakras come in. So I forgot again, this is going to be challenging to explain. So every 7 years, there's primarily one chakra that's being developed, in addition to other chakras connected to it. So age 1, it's the root in the root chakra. Age 2 is the root in the sacral. Age 3 is the root in the solar plexus, and it continues to go up. Then from age 8 upward, it's now the sacral in the root, the sacral and the sacral, the sacral and the solar plexus. So you can actually find what chakra was blocked in its development at a certain age where you experience some sort of trauma that created now, which created your dis-ease. So for me, I was the age of 8, so it was my sacral and my root chakra. And I experienced chronic constipation as well as digestive issues as well as PCOS. So what happens is that if my body keeps receiving the same message that I am ashamed of my body, I am guilty, I need to please men, all these different thoughts that come up with anyone who has experienced sexual trauma, then it gets stored in your weakest part of your body. So the part of your body that wasn't properly developed. For me, it was the sacral and the root. So then that's where the body holds on to it. And each of the chakras represent different blocks, different organs. And for me, it was the sexual organs as well as my power center. Right? So I hope that explains how it can manifest. But an easy way to figure out is, okay, what area, what chakra is your dis-ease connected to? And then find the beliefs that connect with that. And most of the time, it will always be equivalent.
When I first, so this is what I was referring to at the beginning when you were like 0 to 7, you're in the theta brainwave state. I thought it was the root was like the main one, but I was like, oh, if I mess this up, I'm really going to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. So glad that you said it and explained it much better. But after working with you and you kind of giving me that, I was like, okay, let's go back to the age I was when anything bad happened to me. And it's crazy how you can make those connections. And while it's so hard to go back to past traumas or just past situations that bring you discomfort, also, thank you for sharing that with us. It's also, at least in my opinion, like empowering to then be like, oh, but this was the connection. And also there's something that I can do with this knowledge and move forward and go, heal or, whatever your path is. And so I'm really glad that and grateful that you use yourself as the example here, because I think a lot of people can relate and also can be empowered by your story, because it's hard, but I personally feel like once you have knowledge, steps, places to go, it makes it a teeny bit easier. But on the same plane, people often talk about healing ancestral trauma along with our own lived experience. And I know that you had also brought up that theta healing can help with past lives, which I think is just wildly fascinating. And we could probably just have a whole other podcast episode on that. But can you actually talk about, what does it actually mean to heal ancestral wounds or trauma?
Yeah. So if I don't convert you two to becoming theta healers after this podcast, I have not done my job, because you're about to learn a whole lot more. Cool. So with theta healing, there's 4 levels of beliefs that we identify and we heal. We have the core ones, which I mentioned to you guys about the ages of 0 to 7. We have the genetic, which comes from our parents. And then we have the historical, which comes from our ancestors, including past lives, and the soul, which just means that there is beliefs held on 1 or more levels. So whenever we are healing ancestral wounds, or for theta healing, we do a lot of belief work from our ancestors, we actually hold on to 7 generations of beliefs within our DNA. So sometimes when I've worked with clients, we try and figure out the problem. We get to that bottom belief and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's for sure this. And it's a no. And I'm like, okay. And this is where I kind of talk to Creator. I'm like, Creator, you got to help me out here. Something's not right. And I always get asked, okay, test for an ancestral belief. Sometimes we may feel, okay, I feel abundant. I feel loved. Why can I not attract relationships or money into my life? And it could very much be because of an ancestral belief or a past life belief, something that, and this is where we have vows and we have contracts that come in from past lives that says, and this one maybe resonates with you guys even more, a lot of witches or wise women have beliefs from past lives that they cannot heal anymore or they'll be burned at the stake. They'll be persecuted. And so they make a vow in that past life never to heal again. And so we're actually holding on to part of that energy, right? Because on a soul level, we just changed our skin suit, right? We're still our soul. And so we're holding on to those vows and contracts that we've made. Some of them we're not even aware of. And so when we do this work and we heal this work, we can actually heal on a genetic level, a DNA level, an ancestral level, that allows us to be released from those vows and contracts, to end cycles that have been happening for hundreds of years by simply identifying what that energy is, where it's come from. That make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are definitely convincing me to become a theta healer in this conversation, just to let you know. But it's interesting you say that because, yeah, as I've been going through my whole, healing journey this year, I was like, I feel like I'm doing literally everything right. I've cut out everything, all these different healing things. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm doing the healing for all of my ancestors because my dad was in a war growing up. My mom's side, they were in the Holocaust because we're Jewish. So I feel like there's just been generations and, definitely my parents still have some things to work on. But yeah, I think that belief is very interesting that you were saying about the witches, because I feel like just in our society today, a lot of people just have gotten content with feeling the way they do and don't do anything more to heal themselves or just kind of accept where they are. And I think it's really sad that we've gotten to that place. Mm-hmm. But I know you mentioned something about how it can heal and alter our DNA. I don't know if this is going to get into a little sciencey. I love the science stuff, but how does the theta healing and how does with the I guess ancestral healing, how does it help to kind of heal the DNA, and does that help for future generations too? I don't know if I'm asking that right, but that makes sense.
So yeah, I absolutely love the theta healing practice because it pretty much does any and all energy healing modalities under one umbrella and under a space where you don't have to give your energy to do the healing, which is a lot of other healing modalities do. There's a practice called healing the baby in the womb, which is so powerful for healing future generations as well as anyone in, so your mom as well. But when we do DNA activation, we can simply just change the genomes, change the structure of the DNA, and we can actually witness it being done. And it's one of the easiest practices in theta healing to do this. And what happens is that it just kind of brings together what may be fallen apart, maybe a little bit broken, maybe just not working in the highest and best way. And through the DNA activation, you have a stronger connection to your spiritual side. You open up your third eye. You have stronger intuition, as well as we do a practice that helps with youth and vitality. So we stop and slow down the aging process, which is, if we get really scientific, as soon as the telomeres start to kind of break off, then we get older, right? So we can just simply cap the telomeres. It's a practice I do every single day to keep you young and vital. There's so many different fun things you can do with theta healing.
That is cool. I'm going to need to start doing that, youthful practice. Okay, this is kind of random, but under the same umbrella. So I am chronically afraid of heights. I have been my whole life, but I've never had in this lifetime, like an experience that has made me afraid of them. Like nothing, but like I'm absolutely terrified. Could this be from a past life?
It could very much be from a past life, in which case we'd have to dig and find out. But a lot of I don't take this personally, a lot of the more superficial fears, the ones like spiders and heights and small spaces, it can actually mean something a lot deeper, that the body and the mind has just connected height with something else.
Okay.
So, for example, it could be fear of the unknown, fear of making the wrong step. I know I had a deep, deep fear of deep water. I could not, just the idea, I don't know what's beneath it, it just freaks me out. And when I got down to it and I had my own theta healing session, it was actually more of fear of being taken advantage of, which once we realized, it came back to my sexual trauma, right? It had nothing to do with water, but my mind just kind of brought the two together. And it can do that, especially as kids, when we can't fully grasp some of the things that are going on in our life and some of our fears. But it also could have come from a past life. Everyone's different.
Yeah. That's so helpful though, because I've always like wondered, because everyone's like, what gives? Like, why are you literally so afraid? And I'm like, I don't know. But now I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do some work to see.
Do some work.
I'm going to do some work on that.
That's so funny, because I'm also afraid of heights, but like I still have never been on an upside down roller coaster, because I was like the kid that was like thinking so logically. I'm like, why am I going to be on this like metal contraption that is like, and trust that it won't break, because then you hear all the stories like at Six Flags, and I think like now that you're thinking about this, I was like, okay, is it because I have like trust issues, and I just like, even though it's not a human, but like something's not going to keep me safe, so, like, even though it might be fun, I don't know, that's so fascinating.
And here's where you could do muscle testing. If your intuition said, oh, it could be trust issues, this is where I'd say stand up, do a sway test, and see, okay, I trust others. If you get a no, start doing some digging work.
Okay.
Work for you too.
Yeah, no, this is so interesting. So kind of switching topics a little bit, but you mentioned earlier Akashic records, and I've heard a little bit about them, but I don't really know anything. Could you talk about what they are?
Yeah. So Akashic records are pretty much the record of your whole soul. So past lives, future lives, as well as for everybody, the conscious collective. And so you can actually access these Akashic records through the theta healing practice, as well as other healing modalities, to give you a greater sense of some of those questions that maybe you just want to know about your future, about your present, or about your past. I always go in with a bit of caution, because a lot of us can say, okay, if I get the message that the person that I'm with right now isn't right for me, we can sometimes say, okay, I got to end it, done, right? But really, it may be you still have to learn lessons from this person. You're actually meant to be with this person at this time to learn how to stand up for yourself, to learn how to love yourself. And so I always go in with caution and say, okay, here's what, because it's from the sixth plane, here's what the sixth plane has for you from the Akashic records. But I'll always double check with Creator, because that's the highest and best answer of what you need to know at this time. But it is fun. The Akashic records are very fun, because there's so much more magical things in there. Whenever I get brought into the Akashic records, I always am welcomed by this little like elf preacher who kind of walks me around and says, okay, we're going to go here, and it's so much fun. So yeah.
I'm obsessed. I just started to like learn about the Akashic records in the terms of like your soul's contract. Like that, it was kind of like my first step into it. And I actually learned about it from my mom, who is like light years ahead of me on everything. And it's like every time I'm like, oh, I discovered this, my mom's like, oh, I knew that 20 years ago. But she also knows that she can't tell me anything. I have to like discover it myself, and then we can like bond. Anyways, she was like really helping me deal with a friend's passing by being like, well, have you heard about soul contracts? And like this potentially was just like the agreement that she had and all of that stuff. So anyways, just wanted to like make my very recent understanding of some of this, but how does someone even begin to look into their soul contract or their Akashic records? And sorry, twofold question. And is like your soul contract for like this life a part of your Akashic records, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so you could definitely find your soul contracts in the Akashic records. Think of it as the soul contract is one page of your giant book of your life and your soul. However, let me figure out if I even remember where I was going with this. With the soul contracts, it can be from this lifetime. It can also be from past lives. So usually a soul contract is from multiple lifetimes. And the best way I say to figure out if you have a soul contract with somebody is if you have that initial connection with them, or if you feel like you remember them from another time. And then what I always have people do, my clients and my friends and family, muscle test. I have a soul contract with said person. If you get a yes, you got a yes, right? Some of the easy things for us to start connecting with our soul and our highest self. You don't have to do it through theta healing. Sometimes it's easier when someone else tells you, but you can do this work on yourself by just asking the question and seeing which way your body sways. I remember I have actually a soul contract with my sister, and the contract was I can't save her in this lifetime. So I would go back and I visited the Akashic records and found that we had many lifetimes where she was dying, where she was about to die. Something happened and she was in different forms, I was in different forms, and I'd always save her. So our contract kept us connecting with each other in every lifetime. Once I completed that contract, which was quite challenging, your soul contracts will be quite challenging to break, now we have a better relationship than we did before. Free from me feeling like, okay, I gotta protect you, I gotta like mother bear you all the time. I can let her do her own thing, I do my own thing. And so these contracts can come forward, again, just to help your soul evolve.
Cool.
So are you the older sibling?
Yeah.
Okay. That's how I am with my sister, so I understand.
The muscle test for if you have a soul contract with your sister.
I need to. That's so interesting. And then I guess if someone, doesn't feel, they're like, I don't know how to muscle test. This is too difficult. They would go to someone like you to help them read their Akashic records.
Mm-hmm.
That's so fascinating.
I haven't even started talking about fairies and all that stuff either.
Oh, are fairies real? Can we have this conversation? How much time do we have?
Fairies are from the second plane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Fairies, nymphs, all that stuff is from the second plane. And they're tricksters. They are.
I mean, they are in like storybooks, so that I always think like they have to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
I was watching on Netflix Fate, the Winx Saga. The second season came out. I was like obsessed with it, but it's all about fairies, and it was just I don't know, it's just so fascinating to me. That's cool.
Yeah. And some theta healers actually like to prefer to work with specific planes because they like the energy of the certain one. So you'd probably work more with fairies. Some work just with animals. Some work with more of the waywards and helping to release people from those psychic hooks or the psychic attacks, those hauntings, because it resonates with them. I like traveling all of them because they're fun.
That is so cool. And good to know. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like you're very well-rounded because I might not have known what each plane was, but I've heard all of them.
So unfortunately, we are close to our time, but there are a few rapid-fire questions we'd like to ask you. Our first one is, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone starting their health journey today?
Start with doing one thing a day. One thing a day that's going to bring you to a place of love. Your body heals when it feels loved. So as long as you're in that vibration of love, you will start to see massive changes.
Love that. What do you think the future of health looks like?
I believe it looks like a more holistic approach, an approach to both the subconscious and the conscious practices, more of healing with Mother Nature rather than healing with just Western medicine.
I hope so too. And then our last one is, since this is Connecting the Dots, can you tell our listeners how they connect with you, where they can find you on social media, and where they can sign up for some of your courses?
Yeah, so my website is emspath.com. You can find me on pretty much any of the social media platforms at Theta with Emily. And yeah, join the Conscious Creators Club, or if we persuaded you during this podcast, become a Theta healer.
Yeah. The work that you do is so cool. I'm still learning so much about it. So, by the time this comes out, I might be, Theta healing. But no, we really appreciate you being here, sharing your story, sharing the work that you do, and kind of helping Melissa and I understand it. And, we already, at least I did for sure, saw the benefit of it, but now I think a lot of other people can too. So we really appreciate you and everything you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
this was so much fun.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Connecting the Dots. If there was something that resonated with you, or you simply enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend, leave a 5-star rating and written review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, so you can be the first to know when a new episode is released. And if you'd like to further support us, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow the show on Instagram at connectingthedots.podcast on both platforms. We're also on TikTok at Connecting the Dots Podcast.
We have intentionally curated resource guides that go with every episode to give you the tools, resources, and information you need to make tangible changes at home. You can purchase these guides at kathleencarney.com/resources. If you would like to work with me directly, you can also go to kathleencarney.com/services and book a free discovery call to decide which service is right for you. Make sure you follow me at Kathleen Carney Wellness on Instagram and TikTok.
And I'm Melissa Chamis on Instagram and The Lazy Yogi separated by underscores on TikTok. And we'll link all this information in the show notes to make it easier for you.
We appreciate your continued support and look forward to hanging with you next week.